everyone. Welcome to this edition of Between the Lines, the electronic version of the Five Towns Jewish Times. I'm Larry Gordon.
And I'm Esther Gordon.
And we're very privileged to have an old friend here, not so old, a young friend, who's part of the Five Towns Jewish Times family for many, many years. She's a contributing editor to the newspaper. Her name is Baila Sebrow. As you can see, you recognize her probably from her little postage stamp-sized picture on her column. And if I had to list or stack up all the columns in the newspaper that people refer to, I would say that
up there.
More than anything else, people tell me they read Baila's column first to see what kind of questions are being asked, okay? A lot of people tell me they don't necessarily read the answers, but
they read the question.
But they read the questions for sure. And I didn't bring any questions with me, but I remember some of them stick in your head. I'll refer to them in the course of our conversation.
Yeah, I have to start thinking too.
So, Esther, you want to get started?
So really, what I would love to know is what made you get into this easy parsha to be in, meaning it's not easy.
Right. So first of all, thank you so much, Larry and Esta, for the privilege of being here and for the privilege of writing for your esteemed paper.
Thank you.
So what made me get into this, when I was a child, I always had this knack, if you want to call it a knack, for saying that this person should go with that person. And I actually remember a story which was a little bit freaky. I was about 8 years old, and my parents had friends over. It was on a Shabbos one of those long, lazy Shabbos afternoons. And my mother went into the kitchen, and she got refreshments. And there were two couples of their friends who were sitting in the dining room. And I told my mother, I think, I'm not going to use names, I think that the man from couple A should be married to the woman from couple B. And my mother was like, no, don't talk like that. Don't say that. Years later, sadly, their respective spouses had passed away and they did marry each other.
Oh,
but that's not how I got started. When I was 18 years old, I just decided to set up two people. It was a fluke. And it worked. They got married. When I was 19, I had this idea to run a single Shabbaton at the Homowack Hotel, the old Homowack Hotel. I know I'm dating myself when I'm saying
well.
That's the good old Homowack.
Yeah.
Yes. I did see it. I was there recently. It's in small pieces.
No,
it's torn down probably.
Completely.
Yeah. It's completely obliterated.
Yeah.
As Donald Trump would say about Iran, it's obliterated.
So I had this idea. I had no clue what I was doing. I had been to Shabbatons, school, seminary, but I never ran a Shabbaton on my own. So I called Paul Davidman, and I told him I want to run a single Shabbaton. He asked me how many people. I didn't know from numbers.
Right.
So I said 20, 25, and I'm still thinking, where am I going to get 20, 25 people to go? So anyway, he said, I'm not opening the hotel for 20, 25 people, but I'll let you know when I'm open anyway for a simcha. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd hear from him. A couple of months later, he called me. He gave me a date in June of that year, and he told me that I could bring as many people as I want. 350 people came to that Shabbaton. But how did I... There was no social media. How did I get the word out?
How many years ago?
How many years ago?
What year was that?
That was in
Approximately.
1983.
1983.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went to my brother typewriter. Remember the brother electric typewriter?
Course.
Okay.
Right. Of course.
I typed up a flyer. I got the details from Mr. Davidman. And I went to the campuses and then I went to the stationery store and, made copies. Mm-hmm. Physically went to all the college campuses, gave out the flyers.
Well, that was Brooklyn College, Queens College.
Yeah, everywhere. Pace,
Right.
different places.
Oh.
Yeah, I went all over because I wanted to have, an interesting crowd. 350 singles came to that Shabbaton. I had no clue what I was doing. The infrastructure was there, so I didn't have to bring in any speakers. It was all there. And from there on, I realized, wow, this is fun.
That's before you got married.
Before I got married,
So you were ahead of your time, which if I do the math, You're talking about, let's see, you're talking about 40 plus years ago, right?
Yeah, 1983. So
All right.
yeah.
So
yeah.
you're talking about 43 years ago, right? Is it more than that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been doing this over 40 years.
So, okay,
and
so
I never
it's-
stopped. And that's not even how I met my husband, Zichron Levracha.
It's,
That's
it's
not even
40.
how I met
It's
him.
40 plus years. So, what does that say about the people say that the shidduch situation in our community is as challenging and as difficult as it has ever been? But if there was a market to do what you were doing 40 plus years ago, then what's changed? Has it
I think
gotten
a lot's
has it
changed.
gotten
Oh,
better?
a
Has
lot
it gotten
has
better?
changed.
Has it gotten worse?
It's gotten worse because what we have today is what I like to refer to as the candy store syndrome. We have
Okay.
an oversaturation of WhatsApp groups, an oversaturation of singles events, and so many websites. And there's so much out there that when someone is already in a dating relationship or they get a name suggested,
I know that
how about this
person.
one? How about that one? I don't know if I want to commit. That's the problem. We have too much of it. So years ago, things were different. Years ago, people went hunting for a shadchan. That's really what it was. People would.
Oh, there were very few then.
There were very few,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And by the way, I wanted to do this the right way. I didn't, so I needed a mentor, and I remember calling two Rebbitzins and asking if I can speak to them because I wanted to do it right. Because I know this is from Hashem, that a shidduch is really from Hashem, and the shadchan is really just a shaliach.
Dr. Mandel used to write about things like that in the Jewish press, didn't he?
Yeah, he wrote about various problems,
Right,
personal
right,
problems,
right.
emotional
There weren't many
problems.
people doing that.
So who did you call? Which
So
Rebbitzins?
I called Rebbitzin Alpert, I called Rebbitzin Vic,
Oh,
and,
right.
and I had a conversation, and they gave me a lot of tips because I knew if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. I don't want to just call myself a shadchan, hang up a shingle and say I'm a shadchan, and then start playing with lies.
And would they take you seriously because you were so young?
That's right. Well, I only worked with people who I knew.
Okay.
So at that time,
All right.
I only worked with people who were around my age.
Right.
But then, you know what happens? Once you make one shidduch and you go to one wedding, it's what happens at weddings. I go
Right.
to a wedding of a shidduch.
Right.
People start dragging their daughters over. I feel bad for the daughters.
Right.
Shadchan, talk to the shadchan.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's 43 years ago it just started. I did the math while you were talking. Wasn't that difficult? So, I mean, what are people's reactions to you when they...
At the
when-
time?
No, now, when
So
they see you
people
now.
know me, and people do reach out to me consistently. I'm always either on the phone speaking to someone or responding to an email, responding to a text. And the problem with text and WhatsApp messages is you always say the last one first. Not only that, but I've been added to hundreds of WhatsApp groups. That's the big problem we have today with these WhatsApp groups also.
Well, it's a great way to communicate.
No, but I'm talking about the WhatsApp shidduch groups. No. I mean,
there are
I'm not.
WhatsApp
I'm not
shidduch
saying
groups.
there's something
Uh-huh.
wrong with
Right.
WhatsApp messages. No, it's true.
So
it's
what
another way
about
to
people,
particularly. Yeah.
they're passing resumes around and photos around.
Yeah, well, so that's really where the problem began.
Where-
when did
with
we
the-
start
with-
having problems?
With the resumes,
Photos
with the
and the
resumes or
photos.
photos.
The resumes and the photos.
Right.
For two reasons.
Resume, I can understand, but the photo doesn't show the personality of the guy or the girl. And I
The
have always
resume
said,
too.
really,
The resume too, and I'll tell you why. People will read a resume
Mm-hmm.
and they will say, just from reading the resume, not my personality. Really? How do you
No.
know that? Or based on the school. They'll decide hashkafa based on the school that somebody
or the
went
town
to.
they live in.
Or
You've
the
never
town-
heard that?
oh.
Oh, I don't go out with Brooklyn.
For sure. Not only that, I always get a kick when someone calls me and says, I'm looking for a 5 towns girl or a 5 towns
Okay,
boy.
all right. Let's start. What is a 5 towns girl?
Okay, so I know what they're referring to, but I always play dumb.
What
I
does
said,
it
what does
mean?
that mean?
What does
Well,
that-
the type of person.
what does it
but,
mean?
But the 5 towns is all kinds of people. What do you mean? I know what they
Maybe
mean.
years ago it made a little bit of sense. Now,
Not anymore.
No
Not
sense
anymore.
at all.
What does
there
it
is
mean?
no 5 towns girl. They all came from Brooklyn and they came
Yeah,
from Queens and
exactly.
they came from Manhattan.
Because it was cheaper to live in the 5 towns than anywhere else.
That's why I ended
Yeah.
up here, right?
And people don't realize that. They think that if you live in the 5 towns, you ooze gold out of your
Yeah,
pores.
right. Yeah.
But I know, but I always play dumb. Like, what does that mean?
I can't believe they still use that
Oh,
one.
oh my gosh,
So
yes,
how
absolutely.
how do you explain what it means? So you
Sorry?
told me how do you explain what a 5 towns girl is?
I always tell people there is no such thing as a 5 towns type. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Tell me
It's
what
true.
you're looking for in terms of hashkafa. Tell me what you're looking for in terms of personality. And truthfully, even that doesn't matter because an extrovert does not necessarily need to marry an introvert. Because you know what happens when two extroverts talk? No one, they
Nobody
talk
gets
over
a word
each
in
other.
edgewise.
Yeah, you need
Right.
one good listener.
Right.
And I like to match people that way, where one is an extrovert and one is an introvert. I mean, I'm not saying someone who really, who hides under the covers, but I'm
Right.
saying someone who's more like a,
Right.
introspective type of individual with someone who's a little bit more outgoing.
Right.
So is being a shadchan, in your estimation, is it a profession, or does everybody have the responsibility and the achrayas to be hunting around to be making shidduchim if they can?
Well, shadchanis should not be considered a profession. It's a
Right.
mitzvah. It's a
Right.
mitzvah. Though there are some people that turned it into a profession where they have a website and people have to pay like $10,000, $20,000, whatever price they decide. It shouldn't
there
be that
are,
way.
But there are, like in the secular world,
In the secular world,
there-
it's
and-
different.
But they come out and they say it. This is our business.
Yes,
And
yes.
then I say, you know what?
Right.
Kol hakavod. You're saying it's your business, not a problem.
Right.
They want the money up front. I mean, these are like non-affiliated people, like Jewish boys and girls that their parents want them to meet other Jewish
Yeah.
boys and girls. Not Orthodox, but just stay on that path.
Right.
And they'll pay, which is
Right,
fine.
Right. Even in the Orthodox world, shadchanim that charge money. I'm not,
They should
God forbid,
get-
criticizing.
they should
I'm not
get-
criticizing
right.
anyone for what they do.
Right.
If this is what they want to do, that's fine. Kol hakavod. I wish them the best.
Right.
I'm saying, personally, I think that shadchanis should be considered a mitzvah.
First
but
and
that's
foremost.
me. That's how I look at
Right.
it. That's how I look at it. But again, I totally respect anyone who does
That's
things
it.
differently.
So why is there such a hang-up? Why is there such a extraordinary amount of young ladies who are older and not have any prospects to meet men that they potentially can marry, and vice versa?
And they could go months without a date. Girls could go so much so I've heard a year without a date.
I've met
That's tragic.
incredibly amazing young ladies who come from fabulous families.
And
They're
great
attractive.
resumes,
They're
right.
there's everything about them is wonderful, and it doesn't even make sense when you meet them. They're so
Well,
accomplished, but
They
there's a
probably
reason.
did say no to a
Well,
lot of guys for years.
well, each case is different.
It's different,
So
right.
first of all, I want to make it clear that it's not a given that everyone wants to get married.
yes.
Not everyone wants to
we've
get
discussed
married.
that already.
Or
Okay.
not everyone is ready to get married at a particular time. Some young ladies feel ready to get married as soon as they step off the plane from seminary.
That's pressure. Right.
And some, or some really do. There's some, even in their high school yearbook, they're voted first to get married of the
that's
grade.
funny.
So there are some people that are like that, and then some are not ready. Some want to build their career. Some are not sure what they're looking for.
Right.
Some have seen the divorce rate, which is at epidemic proportions,
and it could be
it's
in their
scary.
own families, which
Okay,
I've
let's,
seen. And
True.
then that
let's-
affects the
Yeah,
other siblings.
yeah, broken
Can we,
engagements.
let's analyze that? Let's stop and analyze that for a second.
Okay.
Why are there so many marriages that come to an end so quickly when kids are in their early 20s? What's going on?
So there are a few things. Number one, people jump into marriage when they're young. Parents are afraid that their kids will reach an age what they consider too old. Some of them even use the expression, my daughter is nearing the big 3, meaning 30. They go into a panic.
How about 22?
People go into, yes, that's what I'm saying. they go 30, okay. But they really do. People go into a panic. I get calls from mothers who will tell me, my daughter is the last of her friends to be single. They all got married. And it makes them feel terrible, makes them feel like there's something wrong with them. So they push them and they push them. And they don't make the right decision. Maybe they'll go by attraction, or it sounds good, it looks good,
Or
whatever.
it's not their decision; it's their parents' decision.
And
which is a
sometimes it's
problem.
their decision too.
They go along with it.
Well, in the Hasidic world, it's the parents who make the decision. And I will say,
Yeah, it's much,
interestingly
much
enough,
their
different.
marriages
It's much
last
different.
longer.
they,
Much
exactly. Now, their
Much
divorce
different.
rate has also gone up
But
from
not
years
as
ago,
not
but
the way
not
ours.
as much. Not
Right.
as much
Right.
as. And I'm talking about Hasidim. I'm referring to like Williamsburg, Borough Park,
The
Monroe.
ones that have a bishow.
Yeah, they have a bishow,
Right.
but before the bishow,
So
they
much-
really know so much
Right.
about that person
And the
that-
family.
Yeah,
Yes.
that it's just a matter of, okay, do they like what they look? What each one looks like.
Right.
What about the broken engagements? There's a
So
lot
the
of
broken
those.
engagements happen because the courtships are very, very short. And during the engagement, when people feel stressed, that's when you see someone's true personality. Caso, kiso, koso. That's when you see someone's true personality, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this." And they come home and they start crying, and they tell the parent, this happened and that happened, and okay, that's it. Let's
Who
end it
breaks
now.
it off mostly? Is it the girl or the guy?
With broken engagements, I would say that it's pretty even.
Okay.
With divorces, I would say that it's usually the women that want out more than the men.
The men.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we recently we were expecting an invitation to a wedding from friends of ours whose son or daughter got engaged. I'm not sure. I don't remember which one it was. And so my wife said to me, "Did you see that invitation to the wedding?" No, I didn't see it. Did you see it?
So I said, you know what? There's probably no more.
It's probably no way. Very still.
Which is nothing.
It happens
You know,
very.
a broken engagement,
It happens
Baruch
very. Yeah, it
Hashem,
happens very
is-
quietly.
Is nothing.
You know,
but
I told someone the other day. We send. This is a little bit off. A little bit of a digression.
What?
But I send I send about a dozen newspapers to different prisons.
Oh.
Because people are in
you
prison.
Are you comparing marriages to prison?
No, I'm
I got a funny story about prison. I think you're going to know that story.
Let me finish my story. I'm comparing to when I can. When do I find out?
I don't feel the same way, guys out there.
No one ever.
Just letting you know.
No one ever calls me and says, I'm out of prison. You can stop sending the paper.
No, they never do.
You know what happens? Now when I find out,
When
I get
it
a
comes
letter.
back.
I get a letter from the prison service that so and so
Right.
is no longer a tenant here.
Right.
You can stop sending. Once in 25 years,
Right.
a woman called me
Yeah.
from Queens or Brooklyn or Staten
Doesn't matter
Island. I'm
where.
not sure where she was from.
Right.
My husband is out. She told me you can stop sending the paper. That was the only person that ever did that. Why? What you were telling me about broken shidduchim reminded me of that, but something
They don't
reminded me of
have
that.
to let anybody know if the invitation didn't go out.
That's it. That's
You
it.
see, that's it. Once the invitation
They
is
should
out,
let- they should
then they'll
let
send
people know.
another
They should let. They should
note.
let. They should let.
Then they'll
people-
send another
Yeah, but
note.
here it was just.
No, it doesn't matter.
Just no invitation.
I don't agree.
No invitation.
Just let it go. Let it go. It's nobody's
Yeah.
business.
No, they don't need to explain the reason
No,
for it. That's
definitely not.
No, but they need. But when someone receives an invitation, they do need to let people know that there was a
If
cancellation.
there was, of course. I
You know,
mean, we
yeah.
got a call. I'll never forget. We were working in Long Island City, and I got a call one night that the wedding that we were supposed to go to the next night,
Right, that happens too. Sure.
the next night
Yeah, it
was
gets,
called off.
Yeah, that
You know
happens.
what?
Things, yeah.
Okay, listen, they both got married to
Okay.
different people, and
Yeah, and lived happily ever after.
And it worked out.
and
in
it
the
worked
end.
out, right?
Yeah,
but
so,
it's stressful.
But it brings to mind when you
Yeah.
said prison.
Yes.
I once got a letter
Yes.
from a
From
guy
prison?
in prison.
In prison?
I don't know if you would remember that story.
We know a
What?
story
The guy-
that they met. The guy met the girl
Oh,
visiting
No,
her
not
parents.
that. But I got a story from a guy, and it was a handwritten letter. Came to my home address, and I'm like, oh my God, he's got my home address.
Right.
Okay, it was handwritten, and he didn't like my response. And then he wrote to me again, and he said that my friends, his friends who he was incarcerated with, did not like my answer either. And I'm thinking, oh great, a bunch of guys in prison don't like my response. What's going to happen?
I probably sent him the papers.
I don't.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard this before. People want to know the letters. Have they been tweaked, or are these real letters?
Are they authentic?
They are real letters.
Okay.
That's the first
Put it
question
out there,
everyone
right?
asks me.
That's right.
Oh, what? Oh, you're Baila Sebrow. Oh, I read your column. Okay, tell me the truth. Are they real? Are they
Some
real?
of
Did you
them
make-
are outrageous.
Some of them are outrageous.
Right.
But it's life. I have letters that I can't even publish because of the nature of the topic.
Was they email to you?
So it comes to me different ways. So there are some people that do send it by mail, like that guy in prison.
Right. How do you get your address?
He found it. Nowadays you can get anyone's address.
Right,
You
that's
look it
true.
up. you
Especially
find
if
it.
you're in prison, you have friends.
Yeah.
You usually have the right to remain silent, if nothing else.
Okay.
They come to me by email, text, WhatsApp,
Right.
Facebook Messenger, Instagram. There's so many different ways they
Different
come
platforms,
to me. Yeah.
right.
But the ones that are more, serious in terms of where they would feel embarrassed for me to know who they are,
Right.
they'll come. They come to me. Those letters come to me through email. So it could be an
They
email.
sign their name, though.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they sign their name. But everyone is anonymous. I never publish
No, I
anyone's
understand,
name.
but you want to make sure it's a real person.
Well, so no. So how do I know that it's... So what I do is... This is what I always do, because I don't want to have a problem.
Right.
Whenever someone sends me a question, I respond back. Would you like me to respond
okay.
in the newspaper, in my column?
Uh-huh.
Why? Because I don't know. Sometimes people
Right.
write to me, they just want my advice.
Right.
And oftentimes that does happen.
Okay, that's
They just
fine.
want my advice.
Okay.
So I want to know. So yes, so I always respond back. If they answer, then I know that it's a real person.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember, I didn't bring any letters in, but a couple of weeks ago, he wrote about two roommates were dating a guy, and
Right.
one of the roommates was encouraging her roommate to break up with this
break it
guy
up.
because he's a terrible guy.
Yeah.
He's cheating on you,
Yeah.
and
He was cheating on her.
Turns
her
out,
best friend.
turns out she
Exactly.
listened to him. She broke up with him, and then the roommate ended up dating him and marrying
Yes.
him.
Right.
Yes.
That's a real story.
That's a real story.
Definitely.
That's
I've
a
heard that, and
real
I've
story.
Heard that before she wrote about it.
Do you know
Before.
that people ruin shidduchim
100%.
because they want that person for themselves? I'll tell you, I had a case like that where someone's name was used as a reference.
reference.
The guy happened to call the mother of a girl. And young lady, I have to be careful when I say. Some people say,
Right.
don't say girl, just say young lady.
Young lady.
And she liked the way he sounded, and she said, I don't think that girl that you're calling about
I
is
think
for
you wrote
me.
about that once.
I've made mention.
Yeah.
I've made mention to that, but I know of cases like that. Here's another problem: references are really supposed to just describe the person, but what many do is they ask. So what are you looking for? That's not their place to ask what someone is looking for.
You mean the reference goes back and
Oh,
says to the person,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah,
looking
yeah.
for?
Yeah, I'm calling you about so-and-so.
That's inappropriate.
I'm calling you about, I don't know, Sarah, right? I'm calling you about
Right.
Sarah, Rivka, whatever. And then the other person on the other end of the line thinks that they're such a maven, and they say, well, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll let you know if this girl is right for you. People do that, and it's so easy to kill a shidduch. Okay, we know that everything is from Hashem, but the fact is that people have bechira and then could walk away from
Right.
a shidduch, and even if Hashem doesn't want it to happen, that person should not be the shaliach.
Shouldn't play God.
Doesn't play God.
Right.
You don't need to be God's tool.
Okay, on that note, and if you know that there really is something wrong with whoever they call you about, you happen to know. And I know of a lot of cases that felt it was Lashon Hara, so they didn't tell, and the couple got married, and unshockingly got divorced.
Yes. Yes.
For real reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, serious reasons.
Sure.
So, what would you? I know what I would say if somebody calls me up, and I know deep down, I know of things that something is off there. I say, even if it's my next door neighbor, I'll say, I don't know them well enough. If the person had a half a brain to know that I'm a next door neighbor, I'd say, call your rabbi wherever he davens, and see what he says.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So who should be
something.
who's a proper
If you're
reference?
close enough, you should say it.
So-
but
who
if
is a
you're
proper
not,
who's a proper reference to be put on a resume, since we're dealing with resumes already?
I don't think
anyway?
a good friend is.
First of all, it should never be a friend.
Right.
Certainly never a single,
single?
friend. But even married.
Not a friend.
I've seen it all.
Really? Not a
Even
friend.
married.
Wow.
Yes.
Your friends,
Okay.
are you saying friends don't want the best for their friends?
I
There is,
can't.
well, single friends want their friends to be around as long as they're around.
You know, people are people, and it doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter whether they're from or they're not from. They're all guided by their emotions.
They're human.
They're human beings. We're all human.
But it's wrong.
And sometimes people do things, and then they feel bad that they did it, but they did it anyway in the heat of the moment. It's a big
So,
problem.
which
It's a very,
references would
very
you put
big
down?
problem. So I think that people should call the Rav.
Right.
Because, well, I mean, sometimes the Rav
Could be a problem,
will
too.
cover up also, but
Right.
you could tell from the way someone speaks. It's
That's
not
what I
just
said.
about listening to the
Right.
words, but
Right.
listening to the tone.
Right.
And you were talking about references who they don't want to talk lashon hara. So what I've
Right.
seen is there will be references that will lie. It's happened. They will lie and make it seem like it's wonderful when it's really not. And I've seen the other way around too,
Really?
where they make up things that are not true
Really.
because they don't like the person, they don't like the parent or parents, whatever it is. I have seen it all.
So it seems
I have seen it all.
I understand
and,
that.
and that's one of the reasons why people are single too. There is so much that goes on
Really?
I mean,
behind
they
the scenes.
shouldn't be asking their friends who went out with the person, and they say, "Oh, it's not shy."
Oh, my God. People do
It's
that.
certainly not shy for you. I went
Oh
out
my
with
goodness, yes. People turn down a shidduch. Oh, my friend went out with him.
So
yeah.
what?
My friend doesn't think it's for you. I asked her.
I've heard of
She
that.
doesn't think
all
it's
the
for you.
time.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Really?
So-
Are you your friend?
Are you exactly the same?
And by the way, it becomes Taras Moshe. That's it. They don't
Really?
care. The friend
Really?
said, no, that's it. I could stand on my head and it's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Let
Very
me look
good.
at
Very
some of
interesting.
the,
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. So another question that I remember from a long time ago.
Repeat offenders.
Repeat offenders. What about repeat
Well,
offenders?
there are guys and there are girls that are so into dating that
I call them
come to a
serial
point.
serial
Serial
daters.
daters.
Serial
they,
daters.
they keep thinking something better is going to come up, so they never take the date seriously enough.
Well, yeah, that's what I said with the candy store syndrome.
Right. That's what I thought you
But
meant.
see, what also happens and why people remain single is we're all creatures of habit. It's whatever we get used to in life, we get comfortable with. So if someone has been single for a long time, getting married is scary, even though it's a good thing. But it's very scary. Change is scary for some people. And so they can have a good opportunity and be in a good relationship, but the thought of marriage just
So they just
scares
don't
the
do it.
living daylights out of them. And then they either create a situation where the person will break up with them or they just come up with something. And I've seen that happen too. I've seen good relationships fall apart, and it's like, it's heartbreaking to watch it.
You know, I know that you're not going to go along with this, but I have friends that got married to guys many years ago, obviously. Marriage didn't last, but they have a child or two. They have a life. There are times that I used to speak to my daughter's friends, and at that point they were up there, and I would say, what are you afraid of? There is no such thing as perfect. If you meet a guy and you think that you like more things about him than you don't, what's the worst that could happen? There are people that get married and they were madly in love, and then they get divorced. So what's the worst thing? Let's say you get married, okay? You start a family, and it doesn't work. These things happen. You could lose a husband too, right?
Absolutely.
Take a chance. Do something. Don't all of a sudden you look at your watch and say, oh my gosh, I'm 50.
Yeah.
And it happens
Yes.
from 25 to 40
Yes.
in a flash.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know if I shouldn't be the one that's giving sessions to these people because
Advice,
they'll say,
yeah.
she says just get married and get divorced. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
There are people who do.
compromise.
There are people who do.
Yeah.
There are women who will do that. There are also women nowadays
That are having kids without
That's what
them.
I was going to say.
Right.
They're having children on their own.
Is there a movement in a direction because the shidduch system with the resumes and the pictures and the WhatsApp groups that you described,
Which is what started
it
destroying.
seems,
we just
it
saw a
seems to be
podcast about
it
that.
seems to be so convoluted. Is there a movement in the direction of the way it used to be? Prior to
Sebrow and Brooklyn
where
College?
boys and girls are encouraged to meet on their own.
So-
In a Bakovic civilized, natural type of way.
Yeah.
Which bypasses all of these
Yeah,
potholes that you were talking about
Yeah.
existing on the roadway to matrimony.
Yeah, absolutely, which is why I run a lot of singles events in conjunction with setting people up. Very recently, I had a case where two people were introduced to each other, a young man, a young woman, and she felt he wasn't from enough according to the resume.
Right.
They met at my event, and they realized that they're hashkafically compatible, and they got married. And they live locally, actually. I had an interesting case of a young lady who came from a Hasidic family. This happened a couple of years back. She came from a Hasidic family, but she was more modern, and she was looking for a YU type of guy. But the problem was the YU type of guys, they took a look at the resume, and the father's Hasidic, and
Right.
that wasn't for them.
Right.
And there was one shidduch that I believed very strongly in. And he said no. The guy kept saying no. I really felt that these two people should at least meet each other because I knew it would work. He was a YU guy, and she was a Beis Yaakov girl who had gone a little bit more modern, and it came from a Hasidic family. And those types of guys, would just say no to her.
Right.
Anyway, I organized an event, and she responded that she wanted to attend. So I had this idea, I'm going to call that guy that said no to me. He practically hung up the phone on me. But anyway, I called him. No, seriously, because he said no, and why am I calling him again? He already
Right.
said no.
Right.
But I really felt very strongly about that shidduch. I called him and I invited him to join the event, and he goes, no, I didn't tell him anything about that young lady. And he said, no, it's on a Sunday night, wherever he lived, it will take me an hour and a half to get there and back, I have to get up early, whatever. So I said, come as my guest. No, he still said no. I said, bring a friend. Can I bring two friends? Yeah, bring two friends. Come as my guest.
Yeah.
So she came early. He came fashionably late because he didn't even want to be there in the first place. He did me a favor. He came in, and as soon as he came in, I brought the young lady over, and I introduced them. I promise you, and this is a true story, 3 weeks later they were engaged. 3 weeks later they were engaged. They're happily married, Baruch Hashem.
It's also
I believe,
timing.
Well, timing for
And with an
sure.
open mind.
And well, also because he met her in person.
Right.
But timing for sure. I had a case where two people said no to each other. They were in their 30s, and 19 years later, they got married.
I've heard of things
That
like
happens.
that.
How many situations? You call them cases.
Situations, cases,
I feel like
circumstances.
I feel like I'm sitting in a doctor's office.
How many shidduchim did
You
you
know,
make?
Baruch Hashem, since I'm 18, I've made over 500. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, b'li ayin hara. But that includes also events and
Right.
and there's some
We
I don't
call
even
that
know
an
about.
assist.
And there's some I don't even
You know
know
what I mean?
about.
There's a rebound, and you help
Right,
put it through the
and some I don't even know about.
Right.
This
How many-
winter,
how-
this winter, I have
yeah.
to tell you, this winter, I was on the phone with a woman who had called me for something else. And in the conversation, she very matter-of-factly told me that her daughter's expecting her second child. I said, oh, b'shah tova. They met at your event in the summer of 2019.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice. Well, okay. Well, mazel tov, belated mazel tov.
Kavach said.
Yeah, listen. I want you to know that you're very out there with the column in the newspaper, which gets a lot of distribution and
Thanks.
makes you very popular.
And online.
and online as well, where the paper appears as well. And once this podcast goes up, we've been doing this for about a half a year now. You're going to get tens of thousands of people that are going to see and hear about this for the first
I
time.
can handle it.
We're going to put your contact information on there, so they contact you and not us.
Okay. Absolutely.
So that'll be helpful, and we'll be in touch. Any other comments before we conclude?
We really haven't discussed, really. We talked about it, Fringe. So what needs to be changed?
What needs to be changed is go back to the old method of dating. And how do we know that it worked? Because we didn't have years ago what we have today. Never before in history do we have people in their 40s and nearing 50
And
that
older.
and older that are not getting married. So we know something, when you keep doing the same thing over
Right.
and over again, isn't that insanity? When you see that things are not going well, why not go back to what did work?
Worked better.
It worked
definitely.
better. It worked. The fact is that years ago, people got married. They did get married more, unless someone didn't want to get married.
Right.
Which happens, as I
There were
said before. It's not a given
circumstances.
everyone wants to be
Right.
married.
Right.
Or there was some sort of family situation or a health. There was a reason. But now we're meeting amazing people, amazing young men and women, and don't think the guys don't necessarily have it so easy either.
No, they don't.
They don't. It's people think, oh, the girls have it easier. No, everyone
it
is
is.
going through it.
It's
Because
a-
if the guys had it so easy, they'd be married. The fact is they're single too.
The problem, I think, a lot of it is they make rash judgments right away.
Yeah.
Meaning they'll go out
Impulsive,
and
they're
out one
impulsive.
date. Now, not everybody is comfortable, or they feel a little odd and they're not talking as much
Yes.
as they should,
Yes.
or they're talking too much.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with giving it a second try unless you know for a fact.
Right.
There are times you do know,
Oh, yeah.
and then don't.
If the
you know,
person's
if you just-
abusive or yeah.
or not even that. You know that this look or whatever it is
no,
is
for
not
sure,
for you.
for sure.
So forget it.
Right.
But if there's a little bit of a question, so give it a second date.
So years ago, people did because
we did.
They did.
I know I did.
Yeah. People did.
Well-
People gave it a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance.
Yeah.
Now they don't. They just, not for me, not for me. Look, they'll say no to a suggestion because the friend doesn't like the person. Or the friend said no.
Right.
So
This is,
people are saying no too quickly. And also we've got the candy store problem. We've got the
Right.
resume. We've got the pictures, which some people are photogenic, some people are not. And the other problem is even people who have a good picture. And I know photographers are saying, you need a good shidduch picture. And they'll touch up the picture. What's the problem with that?
I know what the
if the
problem
person
is.
doesn't look like that, the guy goes
I know
on the
that.
date and he comes back and he says,
Doesn't look like
that's-"
that.
So, because in his head, he had a different idea. If you don't know what someone looks like, you give them a chance. They've got the foot in the door. But if you have an
Right.
idea of
'Cause there's no
a
personality in
cover
the
girl
picture.
model, and
Right.
and all of a sudden it's like, she's a real live person,
Yeah, it's a different story.
they
Yeah.
get turned off.
All right, good. So I was trying to bring this to a conclusion,
I know you were.
but this is
Oh, this topic can go on. We can talk for hours.
this is one of the subjects that can go
On and
it can go
on
on for
and
days.
on.
It can go on for days. Back and forth, and we'll have other opportunities to do it
Mm-hmm.
under different circumstances. But our guest has been Baila Sebrow,
Mm-hmm.
our star columnist in the Five Towns Jewish Times, and now a guest on our Between the Lines, like it says back there, Between the Lines
Electronic version.
podcast, electronic version of the Five Towns Jewish Times. I'm Larry Gordon with.
Esther Gordon.
And we thank you for joining us. And I know you're going to rewind this and go over and listen to it again and again in case you thought you missed something. Or you're going to say, did she really say that? Or, did he say something about prison? Well,
And I said, please don't compare it.
okay,
Yes,
so
okay.
we're going to, it's okay. It's okay if you just keep watching it over and over again. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.